What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we have an account review / coaching session for the new Vic. Now with these, I like to start off with kind of a snapshot in time, not a calculator, but a snapshot in time of his account. Now basically this just says his name, has his account level, 10.3 million player power. Early to late game is where I'd classify his account progression. This is kind of subjective, to be honest. Legendaries really isn't relevant, but it's kind of a cool number to see. I would like my account to be shown actually. 144 legendaries in this account, and then rank 6 champions. This is pretty significant, 126. So this is a pretty important number. Now, as far as the dungeons go, Iron Twins 15, you guys can see the numbers here, but this is just kind of mostly for the new Vic, but in case you're curious of the breakdown that I do, this is what it is. So clan bosses, he's currently 1 keying Ultra Nightmare, Nightmare, Brutal, and Hard, so clan boss is in a very good spot. It's going to be full auto, just auto battles, done. Hydra, he told me that he's doing 1 key on Brutal, Hard, and Normal. He is interested for some team ideas for Hydra, which I did throw a soft one together. I didn't actually build a champion. That's going to be where really everything comes together, is on the actual champion build. But I did throw together a few champions who work very well together, and I want to talk about that a little bit later in the video. Now, as far as Doom Tower, he's doing very good there. He has Hard and Normal both cleared. He's making his way through the Fragment Fusions, or the Fragment Champions. We have Thea and Urost for the legendaries, which honestly, much past that, they're not great. And then on the normal Fragment side, he has all the best ones and then some other ones a little bit later. So as far as the bosses I suggest to farm, this really goes for most players. I like Scarab King. This may get changed soon, but honestly, the first rotation, Frostbiter's a good one. It has some pretty good gear. Scarab King is nice for the immunity gear, but to be fair, I mean, Stone Skins made immunity a little less valuable. Granted, immunity is there for 3 turns. It's a little bit different, but Scarab King, Frostbiter, I kind of value those pretty similarly. And then we have Nether Spider, which depending if you're doing stuff for Shoguns, it could be possibly good. It's just the RNG factor. I'm not a huge fan of it. So Frostbiter and Scarab King are kind of my 2 favorite for that first rotation. So either one of these, perfectly fine one to farm. Next up, Eternal Dragon, the second rotation. Griffin, I like it a lot. Griffin's a very solid dungeon to farm. Eternal Dragon's probably my second, maybe. But Griffin is the one I do all the time. Guardian gear is very solid. So honestly, I'd say Griffin for this account as well. And then Dark Fae rotation, Dark Fae. That's really the only option. Used to be Dreadhorn, but to be honest, Dark Fae is just so good. Lethal gear is just so incredible. If you can do it, you should be doing it. It's just definitely worth it. And then we have some account suggestions down there, and then over into the artifact section. So this is probably the more important breakdown of the account. This really shows how the account's actually progressing. And if you're interested in having an account takeover, account review done for you, then just click the link down below, get signed up. I do anything from dungeon takeovers to arena takeovers, whatever it may be, or just general coaching like this. If you're interested, like I said, click the link down below and get signed up. Now, as far as his artifacts go, we have 565 unequipped, 702 equipped, and a breakdown, which is actually pretty good. One of the better ones that I've seen, 1,000 rank 6 artifacts, and then 258 rank 5. So the percentage breakdown, I really like that. Very solid breakdown. I love seeing less 5 stars than 6 stars, and even better, no 4, 3, 2, or 1 stars. I do see those pretty often though. And we do have 3 4 stars lurking around in the accessories. Unfortunately, we have 1,182 unequipped, so a lot of unequipped jewelry, and then 339 equipped pieces. So 1, 2, and 3, there's 0 of those. 417 rank 5, and then quite a bit of rank 6. Like I said, this is a thing that I really like to see. Now, as far as dungeon priority, I'm going to get into the actual gearing of the champions and show you guys this, but I'm going to say Fire Knight, and I'm actually going to say Ice Golem and Spider are going to be pretty close, but I'm going to put Ice Golem a little bit higher. I'll show you guys why in just a minute, and then Spider, and then at that point from there, it's probably going to be Sand Devil. We don't really need, what is this other one that was there? Dragon. Yeah, Dragon is really not that relevant to this account, and I want to talk about more why in just a moment. So what I say, Sand Devil / Shogun. So with Sand Devil and Shogun, you get a lot more benefit from them if the gear in your account's already good. If your gear in your account is not, really good, then you're really just, for lack of a better term, polishing a turd, okay? Something that's already not good, you're just making it a little bit more shiny, maybe a little bit more appealing, but it's still gonna be replaced. You just made it a little bit more difficult to be replaced. That's not to say you can't go in here and upgrade some of your, lesser quality stuff. Maybe you get crit rate or crit damage on gloves. Those could be pretty decent. But in general, I would not invest a ton of energy into these dungeons until your gear is at a point where upgrades are harder to come by, which most accounts, that's not the position they're in. Upgrades are very easy to come by, and you should be farming much more dungeons than say Neville and Shogun. However, that does shift. I'm gonna get into kind of my opinions on this account a little bit later as well. Hopefully I can remember everything I'm saying. I'm gonna get into later. But up next, we have the gear guide. This is gonna be pretty common across most accounts. It's gonna be sell more 5-star legendary and below. Legendary, you can keep that potentially for 5 stars, roll it up, see how it rolls, and then keep more 6-star rare and above. 5-star legendary can be kept depending on how it rolls, of course, but they're sometimes pretty decent. Actually, on his Arbiter, we have a quad roll weapon, which is a quad roll shield, which is a 22 shield, which you can obviously see is kind of low as far as speed goes. 6-star can relatively easily replace that. However, it's a quad roll, so it's definitely nice to have. So next thing, let's talk about, we have substats, speed. I'm going to get into more of this in just a second. So let's go ahead and look at some stuff inside of his account. So the gearing. This is what I was talking about with Sand Devil and Shogun. So currently, we do have a lot of 6-star pieces, which I said is incredible. Very much like to see that. However, when I was looking through the champions builds, and I'm going to go through a few of these champions and show you guys kind of my opinion, or share with you guys my opinions. But looking through this, I do equipped, so I see what gear is distributed where. I'm going to move myself over so you guys can actually see this as well. Oh, that's not me. Grab the entire game. Okay. There we go. And let's shrink myself just a little bit also. There we go. So scrolling through this, tell me if you see anything, out of the ordinary possibly. We have a lot of speed stuff, a whole lot of speed set gear. Another reason why Dragon's not super important to farm. Besides, once you get Perception going, Dragon becomes a little less valuable. During the speed events, go for it. But Dragon doesn't drop a ton of stuff you can use significantly in the late game. There are some sets, there are some stuff. Speed set's the most used though. So ton of stuff from speed. Decent stuff from accuracy, not a ton. Quite a bit of lifesteal. For how far this account is in the game, there's quite a bit of lifesteal gear, which I definitely think could be sifted through and probably sold a lot of it. Fury missing a lot, which tells me, okay, maybe Fire Knight's not farmed a ton. Granted, this is a set that's pretty niche. Days, limited, cursed, only one piece, which is kind of a problem because cursed is a very good set. Another reason why Ice Golem should be a big top priority in this account. Frenzy, limited regeneration. It's an okay amount. Not anything bad, not anything crazy though, but regeneration is very few pieces you actually keep. So regeneration, I like that. Immunity, pretty slim, but it's not as good as it used to be. Shield set, I would rather this be higher because shield set's pretty popular with especially like seer teams, but it's outweighed by bolster. However, bolster can't be removed, so you can't really use it with a seer, whereas shield set can be removed, so it works very well with seer. Relentless, very small. Like you have like 2 or 3 sets of this. Actually, you could only make 1, 2, 3, 4, like two more sets possibly. Not even that. So Relentless, definitely need to be farming that more. Savage, this is why I have Fire Knight so high up. This is all the Savage on the account. This account has some S tier nuke champions, but F tier, F tier Savage gear. I was gonna say the worst tier, but I just went blank. I was like, I don't know what number this even I don't know what letter this even is. It's maybe not awful Savage gear, okay? It's mostly 6-star it seems, and on the champions it's equipped, it's gonna be pretty decent. I already checked out the Harima build, and it's actually pretty decent as well. However, there's very few pieces. So that obviously tells me there's not a ton of Fire Knight farming going on, or you're just super critical on your Fire Knight gear and you've just been super unlucky. So the Fire Knight is definitely struggling. We definitely need to improve on that. I'm gonna go over that unsurprisingly a little bit later as well. Destroy looks okay. Stun, limited on what you use it with, but it's okay, I guess. I mean, not a ton of champions use stun outside of Faction Wars, which is Faction Wars are doing well. Toxic, there we go. But either way, I'm not going to go through every single one of these sets. Reflex, very small, very good for Hydra. But going through down to Perception, look at this. The 1,000 pieces of gear, this is where they're at, right here in Perception. But this is where the red flags kind of come up for me. Look how many pieces are unleveled. You have a ton of unleveled Perception gear, which this is some potential S tier gear. Okay, we're gonna use our we're gonna use our letters correctly this time. Potential S tier gear here. Some of these, maybe not all of them you roll, but maybe this piece right here. Maybe we roll it up and get double roll speed. There we go. Now maybe we get triple roll speed. Beautiful. All right, so there we go. Easy content creator luck rolling that gear. But now this is a piece of gear that can probably go on one of your, maybe your allure. Maybe you want a champion who you need to go fast and place debuffs. Maybe you want Uko in that. I mean, it's probably better than this weapon. It is better than this weapon. I mean, it's Perception. Throw him in Perception plus Stun. He's going to be amazing for Hydra as well as many other areas in the game. So basically what I'm saying is this account has a lot of Perception gear. However, we're kind of lacking on other sets. So before I get into each of these champions, I want to say the Forge is going to be your friend. However, stop using charms on perception gear. At this point, you forged way more perception gear than you really need right now. It's amazing, okay? I'm not saying forge your pieces and just sell them, but what I am saying is stop using these charms for perception gear for the moment. Where you need to focus your charms at is the instinct gear you've purchased. So you have 390 amazing pieces. You don't have a ton of savage gear. You really have no lethal gear whatsoever. So go in here and start forging a lot of instinct gear, but only forge it if you have charms for it because you paid for this set. Make sure you get the most from it. So rank, rarity, and say you want a good solid top row first, okay? Weapon, helmet, and shield. These don't have variable main stats. So what you get here is going to be much limited as far as actually being bad. You get a lot more good pieces from the top row and then come to the bottom row, okay? Maybe you need some great chest plates, some potential for speed boots. This is a pretty easy one to roll because speed, attack percentage, HP percentage, or defense percentage can all be used on boots, whereas things like the gauntlets, you're not really gonna use everything, but a lot can still be used. Chest plates, a lot can be used, but really forge up a decent amount on the top row, do spend a lot of time doing that, and then venture down to the bottom row. And then as far as the charms, crit rate, very, very valuable in this. I mean, it's a damage dealer set. You're going to be building everybody for 100% crit rate. You need crit rate on this piece of gear. So crit rate and speed are my two favorite charms to use for this. And I would definitely say forge this down and you're going to put this gear on probably majority of your nukers. Like this is going to become incredible for you, especially while you work on getting more stuff in actual Fire Knight complete. So the forge is going to be massive for this account. But as far as the actual champion builds, I was looking through them and I was clicking through and I realized, okay, Tormund is not mastered. Deliana, not mastered. Ultimate Death Knight, not mastered. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of champions who are not mastered. So that's going to be a huge contributor to your overall champion builds. Come in here, go to Minotaur, build up Wukong even in an instinct set. I did a video recently about it. Do Wukong and then use him to farm solo any champion's masteries. Now it's going to be kind of solo, kind of not, because you're going to have champions in here like Tormund, who's already level 60. Like he can duo it anyway. So your Wukong's stat requirement's not going to be as high, but throw him in there. You're getting like a 30-second farm time. It's not going to be not that slow. It's going to be pretty fast. So it's definitely something you can do. So throw Wukong in there. Make him your solo Minotaur farmer. I got a video a while back. I can leave it linked. I'll probably send it to you instead. But check that out and make Wukong farm Minotaur for you because getting these masteries done on these champions is so important. And farming it in Minotaur is so much more efficient than actually buying it with gems. So definitely make sure you have a solo Minotaur farmer. And a full team can possibly be faster as far as speed, but honestly, just make a solo Minotaur farmer. It's not that slow, like 30 seconds, 35 seconds, you're gonna get it done. Do it overnight, do it over the course of like an hour or two, and you're gonna be finished. So it's gonna help the champions builds out a ton because you're gonna have things like War Master, things like Helm Smasher, things that are really gonna change the champion's performance significantly. Now, as far as these actual champion builds, of course, I realize that a lot of the nukers are not really that much of a nuker. So champions like Tormund, this build's solid. He's not going to hit very hard, but the CC, the speed, all that stuff's okay. The defense you have, that stuff's okay. Harima, she's built well. Like I like this Harima build. We have 5.3 thousand defense. It could be more, of course, but as far as being in savage gear, okay speed. We have decent crit damage and accuracy. She's not really going to land a lot of debuffs, but it's an okay number. For seeing where your savage gear's at, I think this is an okay amount. So Harima is pretty decent. Now, one champion I clicked, I was kind of a little bit upset. I was like, oh no, Taras, he's so good. And let's get him there, okay? So with Taras, what you want to do is drop the accuracy. He doesn't really need accuracy. Unless I don't know how to use Taras, and like I have no clue, Taras is not really an accuracy needing champion. I understand why you're doing it maybe for the Brimstone, but to be honest, drop that accuracy, get him into Savage, get him into Lethal, get him into Instinct gear for the time being, stack his HP, make him pretty fast, get him to 250 plus crit damage, and then irrelevant accuracy. We don't need it no more. Get him a ton of HP, good speed, good crit damage, 100% crit rate, and Taras is going to be an arena legend. He is going to destroy everybody in the arena like every other Taras is supposed to do. Marichka definitely deserves some mastery. So as far as these champions builds go, I would definitely start working towards a few things. I would start working on making your specialists actually specialists. So like Taras, I mean, he's a specialist in arena, but amazing in many other areas. Hydra, he's amazing. Possibly dungeons, but you don't really need him for those areas. But definitely for Hydra and arena, make him hit hard in Hydra, and he's going to do great in the arena as well. But your champions like Warlord, he's pretty decent, honestly. Like, he's pretty fast and good accuracy. He's a specialist. Champions like Lydia, I mean, she's kind of a specialist, make her fast and good accuracy. She kind of meets there. But start getting your champions work toward the point of, like, say, Krisk, for example. He's an amazing champion. He can be used for several different roles. If you got more cursed gear, you could put him in a hex set, applying hex to everybody, plus being a mischief tank, plus doing his provoke. Pretty high stat requirements, but it is possible. So things like that is what I would start working towards. And things like that are going to be accomplished by diving into Fire Knight as well as Ice Golem quite a bit more. So let's take a look at the current teams. Currently, he's doing stage 25 on Ice Golem, which is not where we should be doing. He's done stage 10 hard. Maybe you farm stage 10 hard, but honestly, I don't think you do it. 5 minutes and 51 seconds is pretty slow. The team preset is currently for Ice Golem 25. What I would do is come in here stage 9. It's not stage 10, but it's stage 9. It's going to be very easy to make it very fast and very consistent. These two champions I'm about to show you can duo this. However, they can duo stage 10 hard, but stage 9 is going to be easier because they're both strong affinity. So these two champions, they get you to the boss. They kill everything by themselves, but you want to speed it up. So what are you going to do to make it a little bit faster? Well, you can throw in your Seer. I mean, you have a Seer, excellent champion. You can throw in your Lydia. Your Lydia right here. Boom. Throw in your Lydia. And then, do you have a Kymar? Actually, I don't know if you do. I don't think you actually do. So this may make things a little more complicated. Do you have a Renegade? Renegade can work. You can definitely just use Renegade on the second wave, and it will take a little bit longer. But if you want to make it fast, you could do something like this. But to be honest, you can really do whatever you want around these two champions. You could throw in just wave nuking champions. Nothing else, just wave nuking champions. You could throw in a Walking Tomb Dring. Get to the Ice Golem, boom. You have more HP burn activations from his A1 ability, plus more HP burn placing, plus some heals. So champions like this can work fantastic. You have a Theodore, boom. Play some HP burns on the waves, have them activated. There's a lot of different speedrun approaches that this account could take. Theodore, fantastic option. We have Tomb Lore for poison activations. Poison's not good for the actual Ice Golem on hard mode, but stage 9, definitely should be done. I think a lot of players, for some reason, underestimate even stage 1 hard. Stage 1 hard is better than stage 25 normal. You have a chance at mythicals, and you have a better drop rate for legendary gear. So definitely, if you can do even stage 1, do it. It may not feel good because of the number, but it's better, trust me. Just make sure if you tell anybody, like you say stage 1 hard, and don't just say, yeah, I farmed stage 1 Ice Golem, and I got some pretty good gear on my account. They're going to think you're crazy. Next up, Fire Knight. Fire Knight, stage 10 hard is pretty difficult. I'm going to go ahead and say that right off the bat. You probably don't have the champions and the gear to do it at the moment. You're going to need champions like Martyr. Let's see, you do have her. Champions like Valkyrie, possibly. You don't have her. Champions like Cardiel. Do you have him? No, no Cardiel. So various champions are kind of required for Fire Knight stage 10. You can do it with other stuff, but the gear requirements are pretty high. Stage 6, that's doable. Stage 5, that's doable. Stage 6, you can 100% do. Champions like Emic can help you out there. Champions like Newt are going to be incredible, crucial, better yet, on stage 6 hard. So go ahead, push up to stage 6 hard, get your team there, and you're going to be getting a ton of fantastic Savage pieces to actually continue your account progression. Now, whenever I first started this takeover, the things he told me he wanted me to focus on was talking about Phantom Shogun's Grove, as well as some Hydra stuff, more or less. However, Phantom Shogun's Grove, climbing through these stages is a pain, okay? It really is. Getting to stage 24, 25 is going to be solid. However, I think for a while, thousands of energy worth, it's better for you to just go in, farm Fire Knight, farm Ice Golem, get you a good stockpile of Reflex, Savage, I went blank there for a second, Provoke, Cursed, get a lot of those pieces. Retaliation, if you want to build Corpulent Cadaver, nonsense for Hydra. Retaliation's good though in general, but farm a ton of Ice Golem and Fire Knight, supplement with some Spider as far as the dungeons, don't worry about dragging outside of events, and then start working on Shogun. But honestly, Sand Devils is better than Shogun, because Sand Devil is going to give you much more potential, very good rolls. Like, it's going to give you extra speed, extra crit damage. Granted, the necklaces on Shoguns will also give you extra crit damage. But the Sand Devil's Necropolis is going to be the go-to place for you to really push your account. And you're already doing that. Now, as far as Phantom Shogun's Grove goes, there's some very solid teams using Emic, Double Painkeeper, I think. I need to visit this some more. But Shogun, when you're climbing up through the stages, what you want to look for is if you have champions with good awakenings, bring those. If you have a few cleansers, so we go ahead and filter. Let's look for a Battle. Battle's a good cleanser. Do they actually have cleanses here? Let's see. Positive effects. Let's see. cleanse, remove debuffs. There we go. Champions with cleanses. We have Elva. Put a few champions with cleanses in here, right? So we got 2, for example. We have Mithrala and we have Elva. Both those champions have a cleanse. You're going to want to cleanse that enfeeble debuff from your champions. This is going to help you manual from stage 13 up to stage 24, 25. It's going to get more difficult and you're going to have to swap out champions depending on the affinities, but it's going to work. So we have Newt. Newt is going to be fantastic for anything that's not magic affinity. Taras is going to work fantastic no matter what, especially if you get him in some really good savage gear, make sure his masteries are finished out, all that kind of stuff. But then you have champions like Turvold. Really, from here, you're looking for hard-hitting champions. You have Newt, you have Ninja, so both these champions are going to be able to work through the stages basically interchangeably. Oh, you got a magic stage? Well, drop Newt, throw in somebody else, and then use Ninja. So both those champions can be worked up, swap them out as you go, have 2 cleansers, and you're going to do pretty well. You don't need Kymar. Kymar does make this easier, of course. However, he is definitely not needed. So getting through Shogun is going to take a while. It's not going to be the easiest thing to do in the world, but you can definitely get it done. Faction Wars is fine. Actually, no. Faction Wars is not fine. Faction Wars, I should have said this earlier, but if you've been to the video, if you stayed to the video to this point, then here is a little golden nugget, I guess. Delete this nonsense. This is Night Revs. This actually is a Night Revs team, isn't it? Maybe I deleted the top thing that was actually a preset. However, you can fit more than just 3 champions in your preset. So, Faction Wars presets are different than anything else. This is Dark Elves. Come in here, sort by faction, and then go to your Dark Elves and fill this thing up with Dark Elf champions. Do your presets. This makes your Faction War team, stage 21, for example, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Now it's going to be a minute and a half, something like that. So you can make your stage 21, your stage 20 teams so much faster, so much more consistent by just setting presets. Faction War presets are different than everywhere else. So if that's something new to you, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and all that kind of good stuff. So next up, Arena. A lot of Arena options. Tons of Arena options. Honestly, your 3v3 team setups are pretty good. Taras, Marichka, Duchess, and Warlord. I like that. That's intimidating. Very good. The builds could be much better, but the team in general is pretty solid. This team, I actually like it as well. We have a res champion. We have another kind of a res champion. He wastes his res a lot of times. We have an increased defense champion in Harima. We have a strip champion plus Harima. Very good combo there. We have some good control. I do like that team as well. And then team 3 is just a typical lockdown team. Tormund could be moved over for some more damage to help Magnar out a little bit more. You could throw in a strip champion instead of Tormund possibly to help your Magnar with nuking. Matter of fact, let's look at Magnar. I got a feeling his gear is okay. Probably not savage gear or anything defense ignoring wise, but it's okay gear. As far as his HP, let's go ahead and see what this is. 87,000. Okay, that's actually not too bad of a Magnar whatsoever. As far as the battle log goes, the last team is winning, outspeeding people. Very nice. The second team is the one that's losing the most. However, that's not always an indicator of the worst team. Sometimes it's an indicator of the other 2 teams were more easily known to be able to how to counter them or whatever, or like they were, I guess, less expecting. Who knows? Just because the team loses all the time in 3v3 doesn't mean that team is the worst one. It could mean various different things. If they're taking the speed team against that team, it's just easier to know what counters, I guess. But either way, don't take a few matches. If you're winning, like if you're getting victories, don't think, oh, I need to change my second team because it's losing. It's losing consistently. Well, they could just be bringing their best team versus yours, and that's really fine, to be honest. Next up, let's go ahead and move to Hydra, the last area that I want to talk about, and it's going to wrap up this video, which is a little bit long, but Nightmare Hydra, definitely doable. However, the champions and the team that I put in here may limit you as far as other difficulties. Now, you have other amazing Hydra champions. You have Taras, you have Marichka, you have Lydia, you have Mithrala. All these are amazing Hydra champions. Mighty Uko is amazing. We have Artak, very, very solid. We have Newt, who's in this team currently. We have Brogni, if you want to do Brogni nonsense. We have a lot of very solid top-tier Hydra champions. Probably a Royal Guard or 2. Royal Guard right there. Probably have another Husk somewhere. Boom, there we go. Husk, Royal Guard, we have them. So this account has plenty of, you have Ninja. You have plenty of damage dealers. But if you want to go all out, I think a team like this is going to be good. You're going to be using some very hard-hitting Hydra champions. You're going to be using Duchess, massive Hydra champion. You're using Tuhanarok, once again, massive Hydra champion. Newt for some very good take out the head damage, very good champion in general. Michinaki with placing some hexes, placing some decreased defense, very solid champion as well. Tons and tons of damage potential from his A1 ability, especially on decapitated heads because it does join in on the attacks. Krisk for provoke, decreased speed, mischief tanking, really just being an awesome, amazing champion. And then Husk for some extra AoE enemy max HP damage. So this team is basically going to be full auto. It should be full auto once it's built correctly, and is going to get you to Nightmare Hydra. Now, the next thing though is moving on to brutal and then hard. Your champions are going to be a little bit slimmer. However, I don't think not having options is really the issue in this account. I think it's going to be getting the gear to the point of being able to full auto it on these higher difficulties. You have the gear. You have the perception gear for sure. You have a few other sets, but Relentless isn't really going to be an option. You're going to have really good perception gear, basically. It's going to be what most of these champions are wearing. So you got to make sure your perception gear is on point. Honestly, I would go in there and start forging, or rolling up a ton of this unleveled gear. Because there's so much stuff that's so potentially amazing, it's definitely worth rolling. However, there's also a lot of potential garbage. Like, let's see. Let's click through here real quick. This piece right here, most likely, it's not going to roll great. I mean, we have a little bit of a mix of stats here. We have some attack percentage, which leads itself to a damage dealer. Perception set isn't typically amazing for damage dealers. We have crit rate. Crit rate and attack together isn't bad, and you could possibly fit this on somebody, but then you throw in accuracy and resistance, and it's kind of like, okay, am I building maybe an allure? Possibly, but you don't want the attack percentage. So this piece is basically going to be a sell. You could possibly try to triple roll it and see if you could re-roll it. However, you have better pieces to re-roll than that. This piece right here isn't going to be, you can't see it, but let's see if we find anything else. Some of these pieces on this account basically are going to be amazing. Some of them are basically going to be useless. Like this piece, you're probably not going to use it. Unless it triple rolled accuracy, it has no speed. Most champions who you want to place debuffs, you're going to want to have speed as well. It's possibly a usable piece, but most likely, honestly, it's probably not going to be. I mean, these are the pieces that you don't have on people. This, however, is really solid. I'm going to put a two-star glyph on here so you don't forget about it. But triple roll speed, I mean, I like it. Speed on perception, it's really going to be what you're going for. And you have a lot of potential pieces that can roll very well. However, you just got to get in here and roll them. HP percentage gloves, I would love to see more of those. HP percentage chest plates as well. We have 26 unequipped, and we have total of 92. Okay, so a decent amount. I like that. And then as far as boots, speed is probably what you have the most of, but honestly, HP percentage, attack percentage, and defense percentage are solid to keep some of, especially if it has speed substat rolls, especially for like support champions. But for damage dealers, you're looking for speed and crit rate, things like that, so they can actually take turns. Looks like you have some actually equipped, which I like, on Nishak, on Vistik, so you have some equipped, and you've done pretty well with that. So as far as what gear to keep, I think you're doing very well. Some of the champion builds, I think, can be adjusted to kind of fit their unique role a little bit better, like Taras being a better damage dealer, instinct gear, defense ignore gear in general, instinct, savage, lethal, all that kind of stuff is going to be much better for champions like Taras, champions like Krisk. This is okay. However, whenever you can, get him into things like Cursed, get him into things like Reflex, something like that to make him a little bit better. But this is okay. Definitely not saying this is bad, because sometimes you just don't have the stats to hit those higher numbers. Champions like Duchess. This isn't a bad Duchess build. I prefer her in Bolster. However, this is perfectly fine. Good healing, good build, very solid overall, just general use Duchess. Theodore, he's probably in some speed farming teams anyways, possibly soloing. The account has a few things we can work on. Savage gear on Michinaki, that's good. Great for Hydra. Very low crit damage though. That's what I'm saying. We need more Savage. So ultimately, we have the potential for some high level Hydra action. Nightmare Brutal Hard, definitely capable of doing. I would go in here for a while, invest time to farm Fire Knight. Number 1, build a team for Fire Knight. Get to stage 6 hard, work on that. Ice Golem, very, very important. Make sure you're doing Spider as well, because you have a lot of gear to upgrade, and selling those accessories are going to be the most important thing. Sand Devil, I would invest some energy there in the very near future after farming a lot of Fire Knight and Ice Golem. Phantom Shogun's Grove, I wouldn't worry about it at the moment, but in the very near future, definitely something worth investing in. But at the moment, I would definitely get the better, easier upgrades from Fire Knight and Ice Golem. Forge a ton of instinct gear. Stop forging Perception, or at least forging it with the Charms. You can forge some of it for some silver if you really want, but to be honest, just stop forging it with the Charms, take a break from it for a little while, and forge a ton of instinct with Charms. Make sure you do it with Charms, very, very important. This is going to be a huge boost to your account. Farm a ton of lethal, get your presets set for Faction Wars, and your account should be in a pretty good spot. As far as your Great Hall, it's doing well. Level 165. You're progressing. You're making some progress, and I like to see that. I didn't even check the live arena bonuses. Looks like you're playing it some, not a ton, which is okay. I understand the time commitment for live arena is pretty ridiculous. Doom Tower, you're doing well. The account in general is doing well. I just think now it's time to focus on some specific areas, really grind those dungeons very hard, and get moving up. So there's some teams out there. I'm going to be releasing some teams very soon for Fire Knight. I need to work on mine as well. But getting that done is gonna be very important. Even if you're doing just stage 25, do stage 25, do whatever you can do and get it done. I guess that's all I can say, guys. So, like I said, if you're interested in having a takeover done, click the link down below, get signed up. And if you're not, just enjoy these videos. Hopefully these videos can help you out. That's the reason why I release them. And of course, obviously to promote the account takeover services as well, obviously. But for those of you who don't want to purchase it, then just hopefully if you can find some value and seeing this, maybe your account's in a pretty similar situation and you can take some pointers and actually progress your account as well. So the new Vic, thank you for letting me do this as a video. Thank you for letting me share your account with other people, and hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll catch you all in the next one.